All right, welcome everybody. So this is the solutions for Module 1, Lesson 4, the problem set on S.20. It is basically all these questions over here, right? This was your homework to do, is 1 to 7. So you just have to divide the polynomials. 7 was a really good question, and I'll explain everything, and 6 isn't as tricky as it looks. Okay, so here, if I have the first question, I'm just going to write it over here because we have more space. If we have the first question, this polynomial divided by this polynomial, all we have to do is just set it up using the polynomial long division. So it is the numerator divided by the denominator. So this 2x plus 1 here. And always, 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 what is the first question you ask? How many times does 2x go into 2x cubed? And how do you write the algebra? It's 2x cubed divided by 2x. And that becomes what? 2 divided by 2 is cancels, it's 1, and x cubed divided by x is just x squared. So we put an x squared over here. And then what's the next move? Was the boomerang, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. X squared times 2x is 2x cubed. X squared times positive 1 is positive x squared. What's the next move? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract, right? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. So 2x cubed minus 2x cubed, this is 0. Negative 13x squared minus a positive x squared, right? This is what you're doing. This becomes negative 13x squared minus x squared. So this becomes negative 14x squared. Then what do? You bring everything down, right? I bring this guy down and I bring this guy down. So minus x plus 3. Okay? And then what do we do next? We rinse, repeat. Go through the same process. What's the question you ask in your head? How many times does 2x go into negative 14x squared? So what's the algebra? The same thing before. You see, this was 2x cubed divided by 2x. I'm going to do the same idea. Negative 14x squared divided by 2x. Negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. X squared divided by x is x. So up here, there should be negative 7x, right? And then now what do? We just boomerang. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So negative 7x times 2x is negative 14x squared. Negative 7x times positive 1 is negative 7x. Right? Next move. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. Negative 14x squared minus negative 14x squared. This cancels. Right? This will be a 0. And here, look at the algebra. I have negative x minus a negative 7x minus a negative 7x. Alright? Try not to get confused with this. Remember, just simple properties of addition and subtraction. This is basically negative 1 plus 7. This is negative 1x plus 7x. So negative 1 plus 7 will be positive 6x plus 3, right? Because you're going to bring down that 3. And now here, same thing. How many times does 2x go into 6x? So you just do 6x divided by 2x. It goes in, 6 divided by 2 is 3. X divided by x, here, remember, x divided by x is 1. So secretly, it is 3 times 1, but that's still 3. Remember, this cancels, right? X divided by x is not x or anything. So this is a plus 3 here. And then boomerang again. 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times positive 1 is 3. And then parentheses, parentheses, subtract, and you get 0. Okay? So that was the first question. Next one. So what are we going to do? We're going to take all of this and divide it by x plus 2. So 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus 7x plus 22 divided by x plus 2. Okay? How many times does x go into 3x cubed? It goes in 3x squared times. 3x squared times x is 3x cubed. 3x squared times 2 is 6x squared. What's the next move? Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. This is 0. 4x squared minus 6x squared is negative 2x squared. Bring everything down. This is plus 7x plus 22. How many times does x go into negative 2x squared? So what do? I do negative 2x squared divided by x. This is negative 2x. Negative 2x times this is negative 2x squared. Negative 2x times 2 is negative 4x. And yes, Mr. G is speeding this up. Let's see. So this becomes 0. 7x minus a minus 4x becomes plus. So this is 7 plus 4. This is 11x plus 22. You bring down this 22. How many times does x go? How many times does x go into 11x? It goes in 11 times. 11 times x is 11x. 11 times 2 is 22, plus parentheses, parentheses, minus, you get 0. And remember, this 0 does not mean that you have the right answer, okay? We haven't worked with getting a remainder, but here this 0 implies that this is a factor of this. And we will talk more about that later. That is a deeper concept of these questions, okay? Next one. So same idea, x to the 4th plus 6x cubed minus 7x squared minus 24x plus 12. What I want you to do is, I'm going to pause the video and I want you to try and do this question by yourself, all right? Same idea, don't give up. X squared go into x to the 4th. You're doing x to the 4th divided by x squared. You're doing this divided by this. So this is x squared. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. X squared times minus 4 is minus 4x squared. So here, I'm not going to put the minus 4x squared here because this is an x cubed. I'm going to put the minus 4x squared under the x squared. You see how this has to line up? So now here, this is where I do parentheses, parentheses, minus. And technically, this is a 6 minus a 0, but this just becomes 6x cubed, bring it down, and negative 7 minus a minus 4, this is plus 4, so this is negative 3x squared minus 24x plus 12. You see, I bring everything down, right? So that was the trick for this question. If you put the negative 4x squared here, then remember, you can't do 6x cubed minus 4x squared because these are not like terms. They don't have the same exponent. So that was the little mini trick you had to do for this question, okay? Go, try and do this by yourself. See what happens, right? Pause the video from here. All right, now if you still want to see the solution, how many times does x squared go into 6x cubed? It goes in 6x times. 6x times x squared is 6x cubed, and 6x times minus 4 is negative 24x. You see, I'm not going to put negative 24x here. I'm going to put it here because you have to make sure they line up. This is parentheses, parentheses, subtract. So this becomes 0. This becomes negative 3x squared. Negative 24 minus a minus becomes plus, so this becomes 0. And then you have plus 12. How many times does x squared go into negative 3x squared? It goes in negative 3 times, right? Negative 3 times x squared is negative 3x squared. Negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract, boom, you get 0, okay? Good job. Let's go to the next one. Here, we just have to divide this, so let's see, 12x to the 4th plus 2x cubed plus x minus 3, all divided by 2x squared plus 1. Okay, first question, how many times does 2x squared go into 12x to the 4th? And remember, this is the algebra you're doing. Always try and have this on the side so you can map it out in your head. And this becomes 6x squared, right? 12 divided by 2 is 6, x to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared. So this is just 6x squared, right? 6x squared times 2x squared is 12x to the 4th. 6x squared times positive 1. Oh, look at this problem. You see here, we have look at the exponents, 4, 3, and we don't have an x squared. So already, I realize we need to change the way we do this problem. Now, one trick I showed you in the video dividing polynomials part 4, right? There was a trick I showed you for these types of questions. If we look at this polynomial, 12x to the fourth plus 2x to the third plus x minus 3. And you're thinking, Mr. G, why aren't the exponents nicely in descending order? You see, what is it missing? It's missing some x squared that should be in between here. It doesn't always have to be in there. But notice that you could write this polynomial as 12x to the fourth plus 2x to the third plus 0x squared plus x minus 3. And notice here, there is technically a 0x squared in between the 2x to the third and the x, right? Because what is 0 times anything? It's just 0. So you're not changing the value of this polynomial. This polynomial and this polynomial, they're equal to each other, but now this is written in such a way that when we put 6x squared times 1, we could put that under here. It'll be like a placeholder for you. So let me just pause the video and rewrite this question so we don't waste time. Right? And now remember, I showed you that this polynomial is the same as this polynomial. So what we're going to do is, instead of writing this, we're going to just write this. Boom. Right? These two are the same thing, but let's just see what happens, because we ran into a problem. Okay, let's just rewind back. How many times does 2x squared go into 12x to the fourth? It goes in 6x squared times. 6x squared times 2x squared is 12x to the fourth. 6x squared times 1 is 6x squared. We don't write it under here. Now we just write it under here. Okay, and you see how we put that 0x squared so it lines up. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. Okay, so this cancels. This is 0. 2x cubed is brought down. Now this is 0 minus a 6x squared. So then this is negative 6x squared over here, plus x minus 3. Okay, that was a little mini trick to do this problem. Now what I want you to do is try and solve this problem now that you understand that you have to put a 0x squared over here to line it up nice for you. Okay, so let's go on. Right? And if you want to see how it's done, just rinse and repeat. This goes in, how many times does 2x squared go into 2x to the third? This is x. X times 2x squared is 2x cubed. And x times 1 is x. So I'm going to put that under the x, right? I'm not going to put it under the x squared. So parentheses, parentheses, subtract. This cancels. And x minus x is 0. So this cancels. So now I have negative 6x squared minus 3. How many times does 2x squared go into negative 6x squared? Right? It goes in negative 3 times. So this is a negative 3 over here. Negative 3 times this is negative 6x squared. Negative 3 times 1 is negative 3. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract, and now you get 0. All right. What a question. Right? So here, I guess a little rule of thumb, if the exponents are not in nice order, like if it's not like 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, then just put a 0x squared to help you line everything up. Let's look at the next problem. Right? We're going to take this guy and then, oh, look. Oh, no, here it's in nice order. It's 3, 2. Okay, so it's fine. So here, so 2x cubed plus 2x squared plus 2x. And if you divide it, now look at this polynomial, plus x plus 1. Every time we divided it by something, we only had 2 terms. This has 3 terms. So when we do the boomerang, we got to do it 3 times. So here, how many times does x squared, how many times does 2x, I'm sorry, how many times does x squared go into 2x cubed? It goes in 2x times. So 2x times this is 2x cubed. 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. And then look at this. What an easy problem. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. They all become 0. So your answer is just 2x. That was an easy one. Okay, problem 6. What this question is saying, they're saying, let's read the question together. Let's see. So page S20. Right, okay, let me zoom in to the problem. Okay. And let me make this nice. Okay, so it says use long division to find the polynomial p that satisfies the equation this is equal to this times this. Well, one thing to remember is, let's look at a question like, I don't know, let's look at like the first question, right? If I look at the first question, this was we did, question number 1, we did this, this whole thing divided by this. So how do you check your answer? Two x plus 1 times this, and then hopefully you get this. And that's the idea here, that if I have, let's say for this question, right? Oops, sorry. Here, let's say instead of all this stuff, imagine if I have 20 is equal to 5 times some number x. Well then you say, okay, Mr. G, this is 20 is equal to 5x. How do you solve for x? I just divide by 5, divide by 5. And now this cancels and this is by itself, so 20 divided by 4, x is equal to 4. But that's the same idea here. You see here, you're going to divide 2x squared plus 1 on both sides. And then you get p of x by itself. So basically all they're asking you to do is to do long division with this. So then you just do 2x to the 4th minus 3x squared minus 2 divided by 2x squared plus 1. Okay? And that's all you do. So you could definitely do that. Let's go to number 7. Okay? Now this is saying that if you take this polynomial and divide it by this, how do you make it so that this is a factor of this? Okay? If you look at all the problems we've been doing, at the very end, you get 0, right? We always get 0. You got 0 for this one, you got 0 for this one. Every single polynomial we have divided for the past week, you always get 0 at the end. What does this 0 mean? Okay, so let me write that down. What does getting 0 mean at the end of polynomial long division? Right? What does it mean? Does it just mean that your problem's done? Like once I get 0, then I know I have the right answer? Not necessarily. Let's look at this famous example with the 16 and the 18, right? 16 times 18 in the first video was 288. And notice that if I do 288 divided by 16, well, how many times is 16 going to 28? It goes 1 time, so this is 28 minus 16 is 12. Bring down the 8. And then how many times is 16 going to 128? It goes in 8 times, and I get this, right? So here I get remainder 0, but what does that mean? It means 16 evenly goes into 288. It goes in 18 times. Like another example, if I say 20 divided by 5, right? It goes in how many times? It goes in 4 times. And now what's my remainder? I get 0. 5 evenly goes into 20 4 times. But let's say if I say 3 divided by 20. Well, 3 goes into 26 times, and you have, what's your remainder? It's remainder 2. You see, 3 does not evenly go into 20 because I got a remainder. 5 evenly goes into 20. So if we look at some of the problems, when I get 0 as a remainder, it's saying that this polynomial evenly goes into the other polynomial. This polynomial evenly goes into this polynomial this many times. Okay? It's very important to understand that. So now, looking at this question, it's saying, what does k have to be so my remainder is 0? Because if my remainder is 0, then this evenly goes into this. This is a factor of this polynomial. So you want k to be a number that will make your remainder 0. Okay? So let's try and solve that problem. Let's see what happens. If I have 3x to the third minus 4x squared plus 5x plus k, and I'm going to divide that by 3x minus 7, right? So let's see what happens. Remember, we want remainder 0 at the very end. So we want k to be a number that will make that happen. Well, let's see. What's this? This is x squared, right? X squared times 3x is 3x cubed. X squared times this is minus 28x squared. Parentheses, parentheses, subtract. This is 0. Negative 4 minus 28 is plus 28. So negative 4 plus 28 is 24x squared plus 5x plus k, right? Then what? How many times does 3x go into this? It goes in 8x times. 8x times 3x is 24x squared. 8x times minus 8 is minus 56x, right? Then parentheses, parentheses, subtract. Now here, this is 0. Negative 5 minus this becomes plus. So I have 51x plus k. Okay. Now here, what will k be? Let's see. How many times does 3x go into 51? It goes in, let's see, 51x divided by 3x. 51 divided by 3, that is, what is that, 17? So 17, right? 17 times 3, x is 51x. And then 17 times negative 7, what is 17 times negative 7? Let's see, 7 times 7 is 49, 7 times 1 is 7, this will be negative 119. So negative 119. So let me see. Let me pause the video and think about this 1 second.